Why is this Labour government kowtowing to China, a communist regime that imprisons 1 million Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps for having the temerity to believe in God?
Welcome to the AHNEWSTV. We are looking at a debate that has caused strong reactions across Parliament and raised serious questions for the public. The UK government has approved plans for a large new Chinese embassy in London. Supporters say this is about diplomacy, trade, and managing relationships in a difficult world. Critics say it risks national security and sends the wrong message to a country many see as a growing threat. We have heard warnings from MPs, concerns raised about spying, cyber attacks, and pressure on activists living in the UK. We have also heard the government say it has taken advice from security services and put safeguards in place. So what does this really mean for Britain? And should the public be worried? If you haven't already subscribed to AHNEWSTV, click the bell icon to be notified of any new videos I post now. Before we get into the politics and the shouting, let's pause for a moment and look at the bigger picture. We hear ministers say again and again that China is a national security threat. We hear about cyber attacks, spying on MPs, and pressure on people living here in Britain. And yet, at the same time, the government is approving a huge new Chinese embassy right in the heart of London. So here's the key question many people at home are asking. How can the government say China is a threat and still say this embassy is safe for the British public?
The government's position is that these two things can exist at the same time. Ministers argue that recognizing China as a threat does not mean cutting off all contact. They say that China is a powerful country that the UK has to deal with, whether we like it or not. From their point of view, engagement allows Britain to manage risks, instead of pretending they do not exist. They say security services have looked closely at the plans and that risks already exist with Chinese diplomatic sites in the UK. According to the government, bringing activity into one main location makes it easier to monitor and control. Critics do not accept this argument. They believe that calling China a threat while approving a mega embassy sends mixed signals and weakens trust. For them, the concern is not just about buildings, but about judgment and priorities.
Let's talk about safety, because this is where emotions really rise. MPs have warned that this site could be used for surveillance, intimidation, or even spying on critics of the Chinese government who live in the UK. Some have said there could not be a better location for espionage. So the question is simple, and it matters to every household. Does approving this embassy actually make Britain safer, or does it make us more exposed?
The government says it makes Britain safer because the decision was taken with heavy involvement from MI5, GCHQ, and other security bodies. Ministers say they would not move forward unless they believed risks could be managed. They point to what they call mitigations. These include security controls, monitoring, and limits on how the site can be used. The idea is that risks exist anyway, and the job of government is to reduce them, not pretend they can be removed completely. However, opponents argue that mitigation is not enough. They say managing risk is not the same as preventing harm. They also worry about future technology and future capabilities that we cannot predict today. Once the embassy is built, they argue, control becomes harder, not easier.
Another issue that keeps coming up is trust and transparency. We have heard claims that key decision makers did not see full, unredacted plans before approving the embassy. We have also heard that UK authorities may not even be allowed to inspect parts of the building once it is constructed. So here is the question many people are asking. How can the government properly assess risk if it does not have full access and full information?
This is one of the strongest criticisms of the decision. The government says that while not everyone saw every detail, the right people did. They point to briefings from intelligence leaders and assessments from specialist bodies. They also argue that governments often have to rely on classified advice that cannot be shared publicly. From their perspective, This is normal when dealing with national security. Critics say this answer is not good enough. They believe the final decision-maker should have personally reviewed all details. They also argue that allowing a foreign power to limit inspections inside the UK sets a dangerous precedent. At the heart of this is a trust issue. The public is being asked to trust that the right calls were made behind closed doors.
Finally, let's talk about motivation. Some MPs claim this decision is less about safety and more about money. They say the timing suggests the government is trying to smooth relations ahead of trade talks or a prime ministerial visit to China. So here is the final question. Is the UK trading national security for economic gain?
The government strongly denies this. Ministers say national security comes first and always will. They argue that engaging with China does not mean giving in to China. In their view, refusing to engage would harm the economy without improving safety. They also point out that previous governments took different approaches to China, sometimes welcoming investment, sometimes pushing back hard. This government says it wants a consistent and realistic policy. Opponents see it differently. They believe economic pressure is driving political decisions and that Britain is sending the message that strong demands get rewarded. For them, this is not just about China, but about what kind of country the UK wants to be.
This debate is not going away. On one side, a government saying it is acting responsibly in a complex world, balancing security, diplomacy, and economic reality. On the other, critics warning that the risks are too great and the price too high. What is clear is this: the decision touches on trust, safety, and Britain's place in the world. And ultimately, it is the public who will judge whether the government got it right. That's all from us for now.
Particularly, do the right thing, secure the economic opportunities, but fundamentally we'll always make sure that we will underpin our national security. And in terms of his point about British Steel, that is a fair one. This government will always want to support UK-based manufacturers and UK-based industry. So let's end on the point of consensus. Let's always look for opportunities to buy British.
National humiliation. Let's call this what it is. This is appeasement of communist China. For economic gain. We tried that in the 1930s, and look where that got us. Why is this Labour government kowtowing to China, a communist regime that imprisons 1 million Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps for having the temerity to believe in God?
You're watching AHNEWSTV. Stay informed, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.